Hey guys, what's up? Roston. So, another day, another mass shooting in the United States of America. um, it feels to me, the last 24 hours, it feels to me in a horrible kind of way that there's a lot of meh about it. That there's very much an attitude of, oh, yeah, I haven't had one of them in a while. And that's kind of scary, that it's become such a socially normalized event that now it's not really worthy of panic or that much outrage. Don't get me wrong, horrible event, as it always is, but nobody gives a fucking shit. And that's brutal. I know that's a shitty thing to say, but it's surprising how people are like, well, whatever. What I'm actually more interested in is the individual himself and the social mechanisms by which he came to hold the views that he had and do the things that he did. I'd like to focus sort of somewhat specifically on the post that he may or may not have made on 4chan before he did the things that he did. He posted, for the sake of argument right now, this is unverifiable, but for the sake of argument right now, we're going to assume that the post that was made on 4chan, on R9K, which is a subboard of 4chan, was valid. We're going to assume that was him. The media kind of is. Most people are saying that it probably was him. So we'll assume that it was. I don't really visit R9K. I don't really visit 4chan. There was a period in my life where I did quite regularly. And 4chan is always a hard place to pull. It's hard to police it. It's hard to be somebody who works in law enforcement and to really sort of pay attention to 4chan, because quite frankly there are times when it's irony. People say stupid shit constantly online all the time, and 4chan is rife with that kind of ironic shit posting, basically, so it's really hard to sort of ever take anything that anyone says kind of seriously. That post could have just gotten buried. There were quite a few replies to it, but after a while it probably just got buried. The shooter himself, typically, we remember Elliot Rodgers before he lost his fucking mind. There was plenty of sort of there was plenty of information about him after it happened, about what his views were. He was in a shitty place because, women didn't pay attention to him. He felt that he was more than deserving. I've written on Elliot Rodgers before. Elliot Rodgers was genuinely entitled. Elliot Rodgers was a genuine misogynist, and he directed his ire towards women. But Elliot Rodgers and I think this kid, I think his name's Chris Harper Mercer, they're both symptomatic of a culture of men and a position that men exist in right now in sort of social society, where the best sort of dichotomy to use is alpha and beta, and I was never a big fan of that. I always believed that sort of human psychology was way more nuanced than the simple principle of alpha male and beta male and omega male. They're generally sort of accepted a lot, but I think human psychology is way more nuanced than that. There's definitely sort of degrees of confidence that people exist in, and some dudes are super overconfident, super, super arrogant, super full of themselves. And the internet's very basic definition of alpha male right now sort of basically is that. There's the word Chad is thrown around a lot in stupid fucking forums and shitty MRA haunts. But and the beta male is this sort of spineless, socially awkward, can't get his shit together, can't talk to women, can't talk to others, not a good communicator, just a shitty example of a human. That's a stupid dichotomy. I would definitely say that there are socially successful people and socially unsuccessful people, and there's a scale along that. There's a line between the two. But men do appear to be more penalized right now for failing to adhere to a preconceived notion of masculinity. This is a weird thing because men's rights activists despise this concept of masculinity anyway. This is something that sort of is an ongoing internal conversation amongst MRAs, and it's actually not the worst conversation they have. I think directing anger about it towards feminism is misplaced. I definitely think that feminism is playing a role in restructuring society and sort of helping to usher in a different kind of masculinity and a redefined structure of men. But I think a lot of people blame feminism way too much for the changes in male culture and for the increasing extremes that male culture is going to right now, to create these divisive canyons. One of the interesting things about this guy as well was his sympathy for the IRA. That was weird. That's very odd. The IRA exists in a very weird place in the minds of Irish people and English people, and in a lot of ways, especially to the younger generation, it feels like sort of an old thing. I mean, right now in Ireland there's dissident Republican activity. It's not that common. It's sparse. A lot of what the IRA stood for has changed over the years. I actually run a real risk, to be honest, by criticizing them in a very public way. I'm not being critical of the IRA. I just don't see them in this position of social relevance anymore. I don't. And that's true. It's simply a reality. But his idolization of the IRA was very peculiar. Didn't see that coming. Didn't see that being like an aspect. There's always sort of like a grain with these sort of crazy motherfuckers who roll off the internet and start fucking shooting people up. There's always a point of contention here. But this guy didn't really leave a lot of information behind other than, his browsing history, his habits. So we don't really know an awful lot about his psychology, basically, is the point that I'm trying to get to. I think more information is going to come out. I think we're going to get a little bit more about this. But I definitely think there's something here. There's something very wrong with in the heart of men, in the heart of masculinity. Don't say in the heart of men. Be dramatic. But I think there's something wrong in the heart of masculinity right now and male culture that men need to have a conversation about. And we're creating these alienated pockets of sociopathy and creating dangerous people by not paying attention to them. I think men are placing their anger over how this comes to be in the wrong place. I think we're directing it at the wrong people. And if I'm going to be honest with you, at least the men's rights activist movement has, in some capacity, a degree of empathy towards these men. And even Milo Yiannopoulos, I'm not really sure if I'm pronouncing his name right, has some sort of soft place in his heart regarding these kinds of men. His blame for why they exist, I don't know. but I think we need to discuss it. I think it's really important, and this needs to stop happening. Anyway, I'm Ross Dunn. Like, comment, and subscribe.